earn more money but too busy to start a side hustle? Do it the right way and teach your money to make more money for yourself, even when you're asleep. Dale Corpus will show you just how here on the School of Cash Flow. With his entrepreneurial mindset and extensive experience in real estate and finance, Dale will help you become a responsible, strategic, and passionate passive real estate investor. Learn how you can increase your earnings or find more ways to make money, only here on the School of Cash Flow.
All right. Hello and good morning, everybody, and welcome to the School of Cash Flow. I'm the host, Dale Corpus, and what a fun and busy week it's been. And I don't think I've told any of you guys yet, but I've been training a lot for a lot of fitness related things. I have 2 open water swims coming up. Like in 2 weekends, I have a Donner Lake swim, and I have a second swim in September at Alcatraz. It's actually my 3rd Alcatraz swim, but it's the very first time I'm going to be doing it without a wetsuit. And then separate from swimming, I have a 3-day hike in Utah, and the hike spans 30 miles. Call me crazy, but I've always wanted to do these things. And I really love challenges that test my physical and mental limits. I'm totally busy and I have a lot to juggle, like my family, my business, and, et cetera, just like everybody else. But, these fitness things are priorities of mine. And I know all of us have to wear a lot of hats and juggle so many things in our daily lives. But what I've come to realize is that if there's something that you want to do that's important to you, you will find a way to make it happen, and you'll find, that right balance so that you could fit it into your life. And so this is a perfect segue for me today for my guest, and we have Calvin Chin from Zen Coast University. He's a full-time real estate investor and a friend of mine, and I'm excited about chatting with him today because he worked in the corporate world with a great job and used real estate as a vehicle to replace his W-2 income. He built his real estate portfolio, and now he teaches others to do the same. And he found that right balance and motivation while he was working his W-2 job, and now is in real estate investing took off with it. A little bit more about Calvin. He got into real estate to find a path to buy back his time and energy. And over just a 5-year period, was able to go from grinding in the 9-to-5 corporate job to having the financial freedom to choose to be a full-time real estate investor, and has built a portfolio of over 80 units in just 5 years. He scaled from owning single family homes to flipping to Airbnbs to moving money through the BRRRR method, which is buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat, to small multifamily homes and now apartment commercial projects. He believes in helping people create wealth, getting time and energy back so they can give that knowledge back to their communities. So without further ado, thanks, Calvin, for being a guest on this episode.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, Dale. I'm pumped to be on.
How are you this morning?
Yeah, I'm excellent, dude. It's not really that sunny, but I can see it's blue skies and it's California, man. So, it's a great time. And I actually just, went to a wedding this last week for the first time too. So that's kind of showing that I think we're out of this. I think life is going back to normal. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I love this normalcy. It's just the sense of going out again. I got to go out and hang out with friends I literally have not seen in a year. Plus, and we hung out in downtown Livermore. We had drinks, and it was, it was wonderful, like live music, and things just seem back to the way they used to be and the way they should be.
Yeah,
so hey, for my audience that doesn't know you yet, where are you based out of?
So I'm based out of the Bay Area. I live in a little town called Brisbane, California, right a little south of San Francisco, on the peninsula. But most of my properties, we have a couple of Bay Area properties, but most of them are spread across Texas, Alabama, Missouri, Utah. So I'm all over the place.
Okay. So obviously right now you're a full-time real estate investor, but tell everybody what did you do when you were in corporate America? What I'm trying to, show people what you transitioned from what you were doing before.
Yeah. So I was in corporate tech sales, and I think a lot of people, always a lot of people I talk to at least are like, hey, I gotta get out of my job. Gotta get out of my job. Hate it, right? But for me, it was kind of the opposite. I actually really enjoyed my job, and I think it's because I viewed it more as a vehicle, like you mentioned before, as a way to fund my real estate, which I also saw as a vehicle to kind of architect the life of my dreams, right? And yeah, so going through it, like, you know, I think when I first started out, like I knew that was like kind of the only thing I knew was getting a good job and climbing the corporate ladder. And then, you know, I think like a lot of us read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book and really opened my mind. I always say it's kind of like taking the I forget if it's the red pill or blue pill in the Matrix,
All
but
right.
he takes that pill and he kind of opens up and he actually sees the real world. And I was like, that was like the Rich Dad Poor Dad for me, was like, wow, there's something else more out there, right? And I think, you know, as we look at, you know, when I was in that position, I kind of, in a more morbid way, saw like, all right, well, what do I want my tombstone to read? Do I want it to say, hey, you know, worked, you know, my first job was at a company called Oracle, 25 years at Oracle, and here's a pension and a 401k and a white picket fence and 2.5 kids and a golden retriever. And I said, hey, man, that's like my life. And I don't know if I'd be really fulfilled in life. So that's what seeked me out to real estate. And, you know, it actually helped me enhance my job, right? And be more, I guess, better at my job, because, you know, while working and doing real estate investing, it kind of gave me more of that abundance mindset of, hey, I don't, you know, especially in sales, like I don't need the sale, right? It allowed me to come more from a consulting viewpoint of, hey, like I'm good, but this is why you should, you know, buy from me.
Right.
And it's because of, you know, real estate was always my side thing. I always had that as a backup of like, hey, cool, like, you know, I had this additional income, additional revenue stream coming in already. So
Did you always know you wanted to use like real estate as that vehicle, you know, to, you know, build passive income, or were you looking at other things, or like why real estate? No.
yeah, I mean, I didn't know, right? I think it, you know, out of college, you know, it's funny, man. You kind of, when you grow up and you start talking to people, especially, you know, people that are really wealthy, and you're like, man, what do you do? And some people are just like, I'm in real estate, and I never knew what that meant, right? I always thought I was like, oh, you're an agent, you know, you're a broker, you're a lender, whatever it is. But now I realize, hey, they were just investors. Like, I'm in real estate. I just invest in real estate. Like, and I'm coming to that conclusion now. Like, wow, that makes a lot of sense now. So I didn't know that was always the case. You know, my family comes from a background of stocks, right? So I looked at stocks. I even dabbled a little bit in crypto, but settled on real estate because one thing, right? And the one thing for me was the control.
Mm-hmm.
I don't sit at the board of Apple. You know, I don't, you know, understand what crypto is at all, except for that a lot of people are making money on it right now. But I wanted that control, right? And real estate offers you that control.
Yep.
That you can be the CEO of your portfolio, right? Versus, I don't, you know, make a say of, you know, what Apple does. I don't make a say of what Tesla does. I don't make a say of what IBM does, right? So that's why I chose real estate.
Makes sense. I mean, I feel, to your point though, I feel that success leaves clues, and a similar thing where I was seeing with a lot of wealthy folks, you know, how they grew their wealth, and a lot of them had huge real estate portfolios. So same thing over here. And it's like, I love the fact that real estate is just so tangible and a lot more easier to understand than things like crypto, right? So I love that aspect about it. So tell me this, like, how were you able to manage that W-2 job and like build a real estate portfolio? How did that start? Like, I'm just trying to understand that progression.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, it all just started like one of just getting over your own mental fears of investing in real estate, right? And, you know, we've been blessed with really good Bay Area salaries, right? In California, and that afforded me the opportunity to go out of state and say, hey, cool, like, let me see how far my money can go in a different state. And it can, right? And I think a lot of that fear piece too is like, well, you know, if I look at it from a perspective of, okay, well, what's the worst case scenario that's going to happen? Go buy $100,000 property in Texas. It's not 100K anymore, but when I was getting into it, 100K property, like, I'm not going to lose my shirt, right? Like, I'm not going to go homeless if that property, you know, worst case scenario goes really bad and awry. So it was just getting over that fear piece of, all right, let me just go out and take some action and see where this goes. And a lot of real estate, I'll call it Sunday morning real estate investors, like, they think that, hey, cool, I can get rich right away off real estate. That's not the case, right? The case is it's a slow snowball effect, right? And, you know, we bought our first, bought our second, bought our third, and, you know, it's slowly, it's like a snowball effect of like gaining momentum. I don't think by like year 2 or year 3, that's when we really gained a lot of momentum. You know, our momentum of assets, the money velocity was really happening at that point. But in the beginning, it was like, all right, cool. Like, do I even know if I'm a real estate investor, right? When you're starting out, you have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 properties. I still didn't feel like I was a real estate investor, right? Because I was still working my job, and that was my identity. So I think in terms of a big thing that I'm doing right now is this identity transformation, right? Going from, a corporate tech sales guy, which was my identity for a long time. I was in that world for, I don't even know, like 7, 8 years, to a real estate investor, right? So, that's been my journey of just trying to change that and breaking that identity into something new, and what even I wanted that new identity to be.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, tell me about your first investment. So how did you get started there?
Well, first investment was actually a house hack here in San Francisco. I totally believe that, especially if you live in a really expensive place like California, like being able to get your own income expenses right and limit your own, I guess, monthly nut, if you will, huge, right? So, I mean, I had a condo in San Francisco. It was a 1-bedroom, 1 den. My mortgage was $2,000 a month, PITI and HOA. And I rented out the den to a coding academy person for $1,200. My monthly nut was $800, right? And I'm not breaking even, but $800 in San Francisco is really good.
That's really
That allowed me to save a lot of my own income, right? And so now my profit, right? So I was, income, expenses, right? But now my expenses went down, right? So now my gap between that was bigger, right? And I kept on making more money. And I would just take that and I would just redeploy that into investments. So I had enough money to save to then buy my first out-of-state investment property, which was in Dallas, Texas, single family home, but sight unseen, and probably made a bunch of mistakes in that one, but still made a lot of money, right? Just because, we bought the deal in the right location and bought it with meat on the bone.
Got it. So that Dallas property, I take it was a detached single family home?
Which is a normal single family home, right? In a rental area.
So how did you make that switch then? I mean, I know that a lot of the stuff that you're doing right now, I believe, is multifamily. So you switched over and crossed over from the residential side into the commercial side of things. When did that happen?
Yeah. So I'll tell you a story. I was doing a burr out in San Antonio, and it took like 6 months to get all my money back out. And the deal was great. It was like bought it for $70,000, put like 20K into it, appraised at 150. I got all my money out plus some, and at the end of the day, I did a lot of work, 6 months, and I was cash flowing $100 a month. And I was like, oh boy, how many of these am I have to do to my financial freedom number? And I figured, all right, well, why not look at these bigger properties, right? I've always wanted to get into those bigger properties, but it just scared me, right? Just the same thing as getting into your first out-of-state investment property,
right?
It's always that stair-step approach. Hey, do it and then stabilize it. Do it and stabilize it. So for me, it was all right. Like, let me try to break through new barriers and get a little more uncomfortable. And and actually another GoPro, he told me something really wise, and he probably doesn't even remember this conversation, but it was a call, and he was like, "Hey man, like I don't do any deals that I don't cash flow $1,000 a month out of anymore." And I was like, "Dang, that's a really good rule," because like the amount of work that you probably put in on these bigger deals that are the same amount, probably even less, to be honest, if you have the right team and systems in place. So that's what I did. I was like, all right, well, let me just try to go bigger, and like let me try to put that rule in place of like, let me try to do deals that I only make $1,000 a month after refinance. Yeah, that was that transition, and that's the why behind it.
So the very first like a multifamily place that you purchased, where was it located and how big was it?
So it ended up being about 12 units, 3 quads. We bought it over a period of time, and it was in Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay.
And really liked Kansas City, Missouri. A lot of good metrics, good population growth, good job growth. A lot of money being invested in the area that we invested in, the neighborhood, close to downtown. So it was great. So that was our first taste of that. And I'll tell you this much. I was like, I thought, hey, cool, let me self-manage that.
Okay.
Mistake.
Okay.
Right. Never self-manage. I mean, do it just to see how much you hate it. But I found myself, and as I've kind of grown in myself, is like, all right, well, like if you're trying to be the CEO of your life, right? You got to be the CEO of your time. Because at the end of the day, you only have time and energy. And if you're wasting your time and not wasting your time, but if you're spending your time, your energy talking to tenants that are paying like $600 a month, and they're complaining about a light bulb being out, and you got to call an electrician after that, or handyman, and get over there. Like that was a big waste of my time. Like I should have been not doing that, and I could have been outsourcing that to a property manager and spending my time on what was actually making me money, which was, finding deals and networking and things like that.
Speaking of finding deals, like how are you going about finding your deals now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So to be honest, like in the beginning, it was all about agents and brokers, and still to that day, it is about agents and brokers and your relationship with them. But I think a big part of it is just networking, right? I think the best deals that you have is just networking and creating a brand of, hey, Dale, like I know you sell real estate in the East Bay, right? That's your brand, right? For me, it's like, hey, like Calvin buys apartment complexes and multifamilies in the Midwest and South, right? So, I want my brokers, I want, the people I know and I work with and I surround myself with, that's what I do, right? So then they're like, hey, why don't you look at this deal? I know this is part of your buy box. Or when I tell my brokers, hey, cool, I can execute and I do this for a living, like send me your deals. And if it meets my buy box, I'll put an LOI in, right? So, that's what I would say, there, and like just knowing what your buy box is, knowing, having people know what you buy and what you do, that's really how I find my deals nowadays.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that you're looking for deals in the Midwest and South. So how did you go about like honing in on geographic locations that you're comfortable with?
Yes, I closed my eyes and I went on a map and I was like, there. No, I'm kidding. But with that being said, like, there's a lot of obviously metrics that you can look at. You can say, hey, cool, let me look at the population growth, job growth, let me see what companies moving there, is tech going there, like all that stuff. What's inventory, right? And there's all check boxes, right? But at the end of the day, you got to see where you can make money, right? So I'm not like, saying, hey, I'm only in this area. But here's how I've kind of structured it now is like, hey, I got a team that I really like working with, and that team's reach is in this area. And I know we can make money in this area because I've done it before. And so, now I'm only looking at that area because I know that's where my team's reach is.
Okay.
Got it. Backwards, right? So as long as those areas still check off the boxes of, cool, if it's a tertiary market or secondary market, or if it is a primary market, does it also have good population growth and job growth, all that stuff?
Okay, got it. So it sounds like you are investing, definitely in multiple cities, but you have established teams, that are your go-to people that are, all of these locations, right?
Yep, 100%.
Okay, got it. And then you're still utilizing a lot of that broker network and whatnot to find a lot of those deals. I mean, do you even have other systems that, you create yourself to find deals that don't even necessarily rely on brokers?
Yeah, we're building on a system right now, just off market, multifamily, right? So, my VA profiling leads, we're skip tracing it ourselves. We're using, things like Property Radar, and then we're making calls.
And for like the types of, investments that you're doing, what's your strategy, when you acquire them? I mean, are you increasing occupancy? Is it like value add, or like what kinds of strategies are you doing?
Right. I mean, I think value add is very broad, but we'll call it value add for sure. Like we're buying properties right now that the rents are lower than what we think market rents would be. Right. So to give you an example, an apartment complex in Alabama, the rents at the time were about $500, $550, $500. That's kind of where the range was.
Okay.
And I knew at market rent, they're probably at $850 renovated units. So what we did was we said, hey, all right, cool. We're going to buy a section. We're going to raise rents to $750, and hopefully that'll, kick off some natural attrition. That way we can go in there and start renovating units. Funny part about that deal and that strategy was everyone actually ended up staying. They were like, all right, cool. $750, that sounds good because I can't get rent cheaper than that. And I was like, crap. It was cool because I actually didn't have to renovate anything. I put no money in, right, for renovations. And I raised rents by $250, which was awesome. But, I wanted to get the full amount because, I know my numbers at the $850 would get me the highest evaluation.
Yep.
So we've got some natural attrition now, and that's been great. Now the rents are probably at 875, 900. So basically we're getting that NOI up, right?
Yep.
We're putting money in, renovating, floors, carpet, paint, all that stuff, appliances if need be, and getting the NOI up. And my strategy is once you get the NOI up, like we bought that deal for 1.1. The valuation right now with just the rents at 750 is 1.6, and I'm trying to get it up to the 875, 900 number. And once I get that, I'll refinance, and it'll probably be worth a lot more than that. And it'll pull, well, even at the 1.6, it'll pull all my money out of my original capital. So essentially, you can think about it as a apartment complex bird.
Got it. Makes sense. So you do a cash. So basically, you get your money out, and I take it you're potentially using that money to invest again, right?
Yeah, you got it. Same strategy, just with commercial deals. And yeah, at the end of it, right? And like, for example, like this property will cash flow like $3,500 a month after it's all done. And I have all my capital back out, right? Which is awesome, right? Because then I don't have to it's not $100, it's not $300 a month. It's like that moves the needle a lot faster.
Yep. So it's nice. This is a great way to build that portfolio, because it looks like I take it that are these long-term holds, for cash flow, or are some of these like, are most of these long-term holds, or do you know that you're going to sell some of these investments, I don't know, within a 5-7 year time span to get something bigger, or like how do you figure that out?
Now, for the most part, these are long-term holds. I look at these as long-term investments. Now, if the opportunity and, you have a 5 or 10 year fix, right, on the commercial loans, at those points, I'm always evaluating to say, hey, what's the best use of my money on the return on equity, right? So maybe the property has a lot of equity in it. Can we 1031 exchange it and do it again on another property, right? So, yeah, I always go into it like this is a long-term hold. But with that being said, I'm always also looking at, okay, well, is opportunity costs, is there a better opportunity somewhere else?
Going back to like some of your initial investments, since I know you said obviously you made a lot of mistakes. That's part of the progression as you get used to learning a new thing and whatnot. There any mistakes that jumped out at you that you're willing to talk about?
Sure. I got. How much time you got?
Yeah. I'm just curious to know what something that you wish you knew back then.
One thing that I wish I knew back then was a couple of things. I guess one of the mindset mistake was just like limiting belief, right? I think when I first started, my goal in life, my someday goal was, hey, if I have like 10 units, I'll be so happy, right? That would be my dream.
Yep.
And I would go back and just slap Calvin right in the face and be like, dude, you pansy, like you're better than that. But that's what I thought my own self-worth was, when I first started, 6 years ago. So I would, challenge everyone. I challenge all my students to say, hey, cool, like dream big. Because you're probably just projecting what you think of yourself right now, but that's not who you're going to be. So that's one. On the mindset piece, on the tactical piece, I know my first deal in Dallas, I didn't account for CapEx stuff. So when the AC went out for the first time, I was like, wait, what? Right. So now I know, hey, I'm always accounting for CapEx now, no matter what, because it's always going to happen. Things just get old and break. And then just vetting out partners too, vetting out business partners and people you work with. You want to surround yourself with good people. And at the end of the day, life's too short to, work with people that you don't like, or people who are just, I guess, inauthentic and not good people. And, unfortunately and fortunately, we've had the opportunity to work with both types of people. And what I've learned from that is, make sure that your business partner or anyone that you surround yourself with, people you want to surround yourself with. And, for me, it's like, I would never, ever, ever try to make it not a win-win deal, right? For a win-win deal, because at the end of the day, your brand is so important. Dale, this is your real estate agent, right?
Right.
You crush it, but you want to take care of your clients because you know that they're going to recommend you to someone else in their lives. So you want your brand to be good versus, hey, okay, if you had a bad review, and that sucks. That's really detrimental to you. So same thing with me, man. I want to make sure that everyone I come across, and I talk to, I leave that conversation in a better place for them. Because I know, like in my life, my mentors and everyone that I've talked to, especially, Go Abundance, being a great group, like you just never know. Like you have a conversation with someone, you get like a little nugget that grows in your mind. And like I said, they may not even know that they gave you a nugget, like that guy.
Right.
I don't even remember his name. We had a conversation one time, but the $1,000, like that's the only deals he'll do, right? And that nugget is like going to my mind, like, wow, that was a great nugget. He doesn't even know my name, but that changed my life. So I would say the same thing of, just leave it better than you found it, and, go out there and talk to people, go out there and surround yourself with other people that are doing what you want to do, and be around them and try to help them out. Because at the end of the day, like this is not a single, like this is not golf or tennis, right? A single sport. Like this is a team sport, right? You need people, you need the network.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. It's like for this business, real estate, like investing, even real estate sales, it's just like that network is so important to you, because that's how, you get to that next level, or you just learn new things that you didn't know before. You know what I mean? So I think it's just amazing all the growth that you've had. And speaking of, just when you started off, I'm curious as to like education, like how did you educate yourself? Just from starting off after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, and getting that condo in the city, and then getting out of state rentals to apartment buildings. How did you go along educating yourself?
It's a great question. I mean, it always goes back to my last piece, like you surround yourself with the right people, right? So read Rich Dad Poor Dad, came actually a really funny story there, Dale. Me and my fiance now, we're literally driving to Vegas. We were like 22, 23 years old to go to a party, and we put Rich Dad Poor Dad on Audible. What is that, like a 12-hour drive?
Oh yeah.
Put it on 1.5 speed or 1.75 speed. We finished the book when we got there, and we're like, crap, why are we in Vegas? This is like not the place you want to be. This is absolute liability all around. So when we got back, we were like, all right, let's immerse ourselves, right? So we found a mastermind that we joined. We put a lot of money down on that, maxed out our credit cards, but it surrounded ourselves with all the people, gave us the education, the foundation of education, allowed us to feel more confident to take action and then do it, right? And just like by osmosis, right? Like you see other people doing it that are around you, inspires you to take action, and two, you feel confident to do it because you want to also, just natural human beings like want to be part of the crew, right? Like, all right, well, I gotta do it too, right? So you naturally want to just go for it, right? And because I hear a lot of times too, like with students and people that we interviewed to become students at Thinkos, like a lot of them are like, I've read all the books, I've done all the podcasts, and I'm at a wall. Dude, I just need that little push to take action, and that's 100% true. So that's where I know it's true because it was me, right? So just to have that community, one that to kind of push you to take action, and then just continuously growing. I think we should always have that beginner's mindset that even though we did deal great, like, and for me, like I have a coaching program, but me, it's like I'm a beginner, man. I'm always trying to learn, because if I stop learning and I stop growing, then I failed everyone that that I'm a part of too. So continuously trying to, my motto this year is be comfortable being uncomfortable. Right? And I think I told you that, Dale, when you were over here. But it's so true, because like when you're uncomfortable is when you grow the most. So, I want to continue to, find new networks, go to new things, and even joining like a group like Abundance has really helped me, because it's helped me network with a bunch of people and create a community there where, I'm able to, find new people to talk to and and hear me out and listen to my, stupid real estate jokes and whatnot.
Like speaking of networks, what I love about just meeting people through, event, like just through networks like Go Abundance, is like a lot of these people have achieved so much, and then you just, if you don't like if you just read their bio, you're like, no, I can't do that or whatever. But like when you start hanging out with them, they're like, you realize they're just ordinary people, just like you, just like anybody else, in that if they can do it, then why can't I do it? It's just like I have that type of epiphany. So it's just like really surrounding yourself and going to meeting people and, just realizing that they're no different from you.
Dude, I love what you said there, dude. We had a retreat for Thinkos a couple of weeks ago here. And one of the students, this is the quote of the week. You sit him down. He's like, hey man, like, my epiphany this week is like, hey, the only difference between the people sitting down on these chairs and the people talking right now are that you guys took action.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, bingo. Yes. Right. And that guy's now taking massive action, right? He's like, all right, I'm just jumping in hardcore. Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, it's 100% what it is. It's like, dude, I'm a normal guy. You're a normal guy. Like, hey man, like I do the same things that normal people do. Like I'm a little different, but I decided 6 years ago that I was going to do something. Right?
Yep.
And I did it, and I kept on doing it.
Yep. I mean, and here you are. I mean, speaking of education, I mean, now you're educating people, obviously through your company, like Zen Coast University. Can you tell me more about that? Like who, what kinds of folks are you looking for, that you come into your program, et cetera?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, just even understand that, it's like to understand the why we even started, and we meaning me, my fiance, Jenny. Mm-hmm. So a lot of us, or for me and Jenny, like, I don't know if you've ever read the book, but Tim actually recommended me this book. It's called The Second Mountain, right? So your first mountain, right, is really about you climbing and kind of getting yourself fulfilled, right? So, not only your finances, but your fitness, family, friends, all that stuff, so you can fill your cup, right? So eventually, once your cup is filled, you can actually give back in your second mountain and fill their cup, right? But if your cup's not full, you can't fill anyone else's cup, right? So, that first mountain journey for us was, about, all right, well, how can we achieve financial freedom? How can we, get to where we need to be? And so when we got there, a couple of years ago, and our someday goals, right? And again, that's also the power of just writing down your goals and telling people what they are. We were like, all right, well, how can we now give back? Like, what's the bigger picture of life, right? And for us, it was like, all right, well, how can we make a bigger impact on this world? And, we said, hey, cool, we could start a nonprofit. We could, hand out soup at a kitchen. And honestly, both of those kind of sounded like, checking boxes, right? And not really a good use of our superpower. And we were like, all right, well, what is our superpower? All right, well, real estate's been pretty generous to us throughout the years. What if we could teach people kind of what we taught and were taught, and, teach our journey, and hopefully they can find their journey and live a more abundant life, so that then they can go share that with their community, their family, their friends, pass that down to their generational, wealth and knowledge to their kids. Then, we'd feel like, all right, well, we're making an impact on this world. And, on our deathbed, we could say, hey, cool, like if we help transform people's lives, that's really a great purpose. I mean, just like you did, like you're helping transform people's lives by helping them make the biggest investment that they're going to make in their house. So that's why we started Zen Coast, right? Was, all right, well, and our motto is how can we help people create passive income, so that they can create passive impact, right? So that's what we're all about is, how can we help that, right? Because then, it's, if we look at real estate as just a vehicle, money is just a vehicle, right? To get back our time, to be able to spend time with who we want, when we want, doing what we want, right? And that's what it's all about, right? How can we now make a bigger impact on this world, right? Because you can be rich, right, and a dick, right? And like just a rich a-hole, if you will, right? But if you're not helping impact the world, then, what is it all about? So that's our philosophy, right? And, again, we interview every student that comes in. I literally personally talk to every single person, because I want to ensure that, one, our culture is that, right? I don't want people to turn people away and say, hey, like, I don't think this is the right program for you. Because, when I ask a question, why do you want to, what would you do with your time if you had all the passive income in the world? And they say, I'd want to be richer. Yep. It's like, well, why? Where's the substance there? So, so that's really our target, is someone that is, to long-windedly answer your question, someone that is really looking at, creating passive income so that they can create passive impact, right, on their community, and give that knowledge back, and really, quintessential to say, like, throw the rope back down, right? Because we've had mentors, and I'm sure you've had mentors too, that threw the rope down to us, and we're so appreciative and grateful for those people in our lives, because they've changed our lives, literally. They may not know it, hopefully they do, but our goal is to throw that rope back down, our students to grab that rope, and once they're up, throw that rope back down again to someone else. And that's a compound effect of impact that we can make, because if they can help someone else, that person can help someone else, that person can help someone else, boom, then it's a spider web of just infinite impact.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like keep paying it forward, and you don't even know how many lives you're touching. It's just because it just keeps going and going. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not quantifiable. I'd love to be able to quantify it someday, but I don't know. I mean, it's it's not really something that's easy to quantify. But as long as I can see that transformation happening, then it's happening.
Zen Coast. So how did you come up with that name? I know this is a very random question.
Well, yeah. So Zen Coast was actually our first LLC that we ever created for just getting properties.
Okay.
But we came with that name because one, like we want people to live a Zen life without worry, right? And they can coast through life.
Okay.
Right. And again, like it really speaks to us because we live on the coast as well. But I think a lot of people have a lot of worries, right? And I think even in our college, our coaching college, like what we do is we do a lot of mindfulness exercises first because we want people to get in a Zen mode, right? Because, many people can, take courses, right? But sometimes like you're just so pissed off or you're so busy in your own mind that you're not present, right? You have a fire drill at work. Oh, I got a client that is, you're pissed off. I got to deal with this fire drill. And then you go into a class in a really, state of like not being present, right? So we do a lot of exercises on like mindfulness, on like doing Wim Hof, doing meditations, journaling exercises, so that we can get in the right mindfulness, so that they can receive data in a present way, right? That's where Zen Coast comes from. Is it's help you find the time to be present, so that you go through life, live a life that you designed and that you put together and with the people that you love, and live that life.
I love it. I mean, a lot of the folks that you're coaching through the program, are a lot of them, newer investors, experienced investors?
Yeah, it's a combination, right? So we have different levels as well of what we teach. So, I would say, I'd say like 75% are going to be the ones that are, hey, I got no properties. I don't know what the heck I'm doing, or I have one. And then the 25% is, hey, I got like 5 units. I'm looking to scale.
Yep. Speaking of newer investors, any type of advice that you can offer for those that are looking to get into real estate investing?
Yeah, understand your why.
I love it.
I was actually talking to my little sister the other day about this, and it was just like, okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna buy a short-term rental. I'm gonna buy an Airbnb. And I was like, well, why? I'm just like, well, I don't know. And I was like, well, figure that out first, right? Because if you don't know your why and what you're really doing this for, I got a student right now that is crushing it. Because he's got one of the biggest whys I know. Like he's one of his whys is like, I want to go back. He's Jamaican, and he wants to go back to where the village that his mom was raised in, and rebuild and redevelop that town, that village.
Wow.
But he's already crushing it. He's really got like three properties. He's cashing like $2,500 a month, and this is the first time he's investing in real estate, and it's like literally 3 months in, right? So he's, that to me, like he just has that big why, and that's driving him forward. So if you don't know your why, what are you doing this for, right? You're not gonna be motivated. You're not gonna have the energy, right, to drive you forward. So I'd find that first, because it is, and you probably know this deal too. It's like it's up there first, right? It's a mental game. It's a mindset game first, and people don't realize that. People just like, oh, well, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? Well, why are you doing this? So ask that question first, and then get back to the how.
I got you. So how can someone learn about you and your company?
Yeah, if you just go on our website, go to zencoastuniversity.com. You could book a call with me. You can learn more about the program. You can always follow me as well on Instagram. I think it's just calvin.chin91, or Facebook. Name is just Calvin Chin. Yeah, those are the best ways to get in contact and reach out.
Well, cool. Well, those are all the questions I had for this episode. So if any of you listeners have any more questions for Calvin, feel free to reach out to him directly. And thanks, Calvin, for coming on this episode with me. Thanks for your time. Yeah. And well, thank you. And providing so much value to my listeners. And to my listeners, thanks for checking out this week's episode of the School of Cash Flow. I'll see you next week. And until then, live life abundantly.
I love it.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the School of Cash Flow. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into all the tips and tricks you can use to help you on your passive investing journey. In the meantime, you may visit www.cashflowschoolpodcast.com for more great episodes. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share. That's all for this episode, folks. See you next time.